Welcome back to Ivy Astrology, everyone. We have just come through week 1 of March 2026. And if you're feeling like something has fundamentally shifted inside you, you're not imagining it. This was the week of the great release. And I want to walk you through exactly what just happened, what it means, and where we go from here. So let's break down what we just experienced, because 4 major cosmic events landed in the span of 6 days. That's extraordinary. First, Mars entered Pisces on March 2nd. The planet of action, drive, and courage moved from intellectual, strategy-driven Aquarius into mystical, intuitive Pisces. And you probably felt this shift. Suddenly, your approach to getting things done changed. Instead of making lists and executing a battle plan, you found yourself moving by instinct, acting from compassion, feeling drawn to creative work, spiritual practice, or service, even if you couldn't explain why. Mars in Pisces is the spiritual warrior. It doesn't charge forward with a sword. It moves with the current and fights for what's sacred rather than what's strategic. And here's the key. You may not know why you felt called to take a certain action this week. Trust that impulse. Mars in Pisces is going to be with us through mid-April. So get comfortable with leading from intuition rather than logic. Then we had a total lunar eclipse, the blood moon, that hit on March 3rd at 12 degrees, 41 minutes of Virgo. This was the big one, the final lunar eclipse until the very last day of 2028 on the south node in Virgo. And what that means is release. If something fell apart this week, a job, a relationship, a routine, a belief about yourself, that was the eclipse doing its work. The South Node in Virgo was demanding you let go of perfectionism, overanalysis, anxiety, and the need to have everything figured out before you can move forward. And here's what I want you to understand. Whatever was released during this blood moon is released permanently. This isn't temporary shakeup. This is the cosmos pulling something from your hands that you are never going to let go of voluntarily. And that's okay. That's the gift. The space that was created this week, that's where everything new is going to grow. Remember, this eclipse also formed, Then we had Venus entered Aries and conjuncted Neptune. On March 6th. Venus, the planet of love, relationships, values, beauty, and money, crossed from Pisces into Aries, from the last sign of the zodiac into the first. And the moment she entered Aries, she met Neptune at about 1 degree. This is love, beauty, and values walking directly through the most powerful spiritual manifestation point of 2026. This is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction zone. If you felt a shift in what you're attracted to this week, if a relationship suddenly felt different, if your values around money or beauty or what matters to you started recalibrating, that's Venus walking through the threshold. Venus conjunct Neptune in Aries isn't passive, dreamy romance. This is spirituality, activated, bold love, courageous declarations of affection, artistic expression that's both visionary and brave, financial decisions aligned with your deeper spiritual value. Now, just a quick reality check here. Venus-Neptune can also mean romantic delusion, financial fantasy, and seeing people through rose-colored glasses. And with Mercury still retrograde, please double-check any financial commitments you made this week. Don't confuse infatuation with spiritual connection. If something that happened around March 6th feels too good to be true, give it a few weeks before making permanent decisions. And we had Mercury Cazimi on March 7th at 17 degrees Pisces. Right at the end of this incredible week, we got a flash of mental clarity in the middle of Mercury retrograde, a Cazimi, when a planet is being purified in the solar fire. For Mercury, this means one moment of crystal clear thinking in the fog. Did you have an insight this week? A sudden realization? A conversation that cut through all the confusion? That was the Cazimi. Think of it as a divine download. Whatever clarity arrived around March 7th, write it down if you haven't already. That insight is gold. It's showing you the truth that Mercury retrograde has been trying to reveal through all of its chaos and miscommunication. So, where does this leave us? Week 1 was about release and clarity. Week 2 is about activation and destiny. Here's what's coming. We have Venus conjunct Saturn on March 8th. So right at the start of the next week or this week, the love and values energy that just walked through the Neptune zone now meets Saturn. This grounds everything. Relationships get tested. Can this love be both spiritually authentic and committed? This is where the dreaminess of Venus-Neptune meets the reality of Venus-Saturn. What survives this test is real. Jupiter stations direct on March 10th through 11th. After 4 months of retrograde, Jupiter in Cancer begins moving forward again. All that internal emotional growth, that quiet family healing, that sense of cultivating security from within, it starts manifesting in the external world. Blessings begin to flow outward. And Mars conjuncts the North Node of Destiny on March 13th. This is a major destiny activation. The planet of action and courage meets the point of faith at 8 degrees Pisces. You'll feel a powerful pull to take action on something spiritual, creative, or compassionate. This is surrendered courage, a leap of faith. So week 2 is when the energy shifts from releasing the old to activating the new. So stay tuned for that breakdown. We're also going to have week 3. The new moon in Pisces, the spring equinox, and Mercury stations direct, Mars trine Jupiter, and week 4 of March, Neptune Cazimi, Saturn Cazimi, and Saturn sextile. Go on the Ivy Astrology website. I have created there 3 interconnected calendars that show you exactly how this March 2026 transits are affecting your personal chart, including the personal transit calendar, which is your most detailed tool. See when transiting planets aspect your natal planets throughout the week, month, or year. This is invaluable for planning important events around powerful aspects like Mars trine Jupiter, or knowing when to be extra careful during Mercury retrograde miscommunications. Here's what you need to know about access. All 3 calendars have a free weekly view, so you can try them right now, no commitment. But here's the most important part. I also have lounge pricing that ends March 31st. After this date, all calendar prices will double, and the personal transit calendar's free weekly view, that will only be available for everyone who signs up before March 31st. If you purchase monthly or yearly access now, you also get a price lock guarantee, a personal code that locks in these lounge prices for all future renewals. Plus, you will benefit from every future upgrade to these calendars. And one more thing I want to mention, the homepage on Ivy Astrology, every single day, the homepage shows you the daily transits and aspects that are active right now, along with their general meaning. And here's why that matters. In a monthly or weekly video like this one, I can cover the major transits, the eclipses, the zeniths, the station directs, but there are aspects happening every day that I simply cannot fit into these videos. A moon square to Pluto on a Tuesday, a Mercury sextile Uranus on a Thursday. These also matter. They affect your mood, your conversations, your decisions, and they go often unnoticed. The homepage gives you that daily awareness. You check in, you see what's active, you read the general meaning, and then once you understand the energy of the day, you head over to the personal activation page to see how that same transit is hitting your chart specifically. That's the combination. The homepage gives you the what, the personal activation page gives you the where and how for you personally. So make it a daily habit. Check the homepage, understand the energy, then go deeper on the personal activation page. That's how you turn astrology from something you watch on YouTube once a week into a living daily guidance. So visit Ivy Astrology, the link is in the description below. Explore the homepage, the personal activation tools, and secure your launch pricing before March 31st. Because understanding what is happening in the cosmos is powerful, but knowing exactly where is hitting your chart every single day, that's the game changer. Now, let's dive into sign by sign predictions for the following weeks of March. All right, so let's go through the general energies for the second week of March first. Week 2 is when the post-eclipse energy begins to solidify. Venus conjuncts Saturn on March 8th, grounding the spiritual love of Venus-Neptune into mature commitment. Then Jupiter stations direct on March 10th, 11th, ending 4 months of internal emotional expansion and beginning external manifestation. And then Mars will conjunct the North Node on March 13. This is one of the most significant destiny activations of the year. So let's have a look first at the general energies of Venus conjunct Saturn. This happens at 2 degrees on March 8th. Just 48 hours after Venus conjuncted Neptune, which is spiritual love and divine beauty, Venus now meets Saturn, which is commitment, discipline, and a reality. This is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction zone being activated through the lens of love, relationships, and values. And what this means? Well, Venus-Neptune showed you the dream. Venus-Saturn shows you the work required to make it real. Relationships that can hold both spiritual depth and mature commitment are strengthened. Relationships that are only fantasy, Neptune, without substance, Saturn, are exposed. So how you can see this in your life? It could be a relationship conversation about commitment, boundaries, or long-term plans. It could be a financial decision that requires discipline rather than wishful thinking. It could be art or beauty projects that need practical structure to succeed. It could be recognizing the difference between spiritual connection and sustainable partnership. So March 6th to 8th, it's a 48-hour window where your values and relationships are tested against this 166-year Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries. What survives this test carries the energy of the new era, and what doesn't survive was always meant to be released. On March 11th, Jupiter stations direct at 15 degrees Cancer, March 10th, 11th. So after 4 months of retrograde review, since November 11, 2025, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, abundance, and growth, stations direct in nurturing Cancer. Jupiter retrograde in Cancer has been a period of internal emotional expansion, growing your capacity to feel, heal, nurture, or family review, of reevaluating your relationships with home, your parents, your heritage. Maybe quiet blessings, abundance that grows within before manifesting without, and emotional security building, developing inner safety regardless of outer circumstances. When Jupiter goes direct, all of this internal work begins to bear external fruit. Family healing becomes visible reconciliation or tangible support. Emotional growth attracts opportunities that match your expanded capacity. Home improvements, moves, or real estate matters progress forward, and nurturing others becomes a source of abundance, not depletion. And on March 13th, Mars will conjunct the North Node at 8 degrees. Almost 9 degrees Pisces. So this is one of the most significant destiny activations of 2026. Mars, the planet of courage, action, and initiative, meets the North Node of destiny in mystical Pisces. The North Node represents where we're collectively and individually being called to grow. Mars activating it means we're being compelled to act on our soul's purpose. In Pisces, this destiny activation looks like the spiritual warrior, creative destiny, forgiveness as courage, surrender as strength, and compassionate action. This Mars North Node conjunction at Ace 55 Pisces is directly tied to the eclipse axis. The North Node is in Pisces and the South Node is in Virgo. The lunar eclipse of March 3rd released Virgo perfectionism. Now Mars on the North Node asks, what courageous action will you take toward your Pisces destiny? Faith, creativity, surrender, compassion. So around March 13, you will feel a strong pull to do something that's aligned with your soul's highest path. It might or might not make logical sense, or it might scare you. This is Mars saying the universe has been nudging you. This is now pushing you. So move. Now I'm going to mention just very high level, what are the signs that are being activated? So first of all, of course, Pisces, as this is a conjunction with your sun, moon, or rising sign. So if you are, if you have Mars in between 4 to 14 degrees Pisces, this is a destiny direct hit for you. Maximum intensity. The universe places you directly on your soul's growth path. Courageous spiritual action is demanded. If you are Virgo, in between 4 to 14 degrees, Mars is in opposition to your sun sign, moon sign, or rising sign. This is destiny tension. You're being pulled between familiar patterns of control, analysis, and the call to surrender. Others may push you toward your destiny. If you're a Gemini or Sagittarius, Mars in between 4 to 14 degrees will square, and if you have your Gemini and Sagittarius sun, moon, or ascendant between 4 and 14 degrees, there will be a square to Mars. This is destiny friction. Challenging but catalytic. Mental resistance or philosophical stubbornness must break so spiritual courage can emerge. If you're Cancer or Scorpio in between 4 and 14 degrees, Mars will trine your sign. Destiny will flow. It will be effortless alignment with your soul's direction. Emotional courage and intuitive action are naturally supported. And if you are Taurus or Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant in between 4 to 14 degrees, Mars will sextile your sign. This is a destiny opportunity. Doors open if you act. Grounded, practical steps towards spiritual growth are rewarded. And obviously, if you are any of those signs between 7 and 11 degrees of those activated signs that I mentioned, the intensity level is going to be quite high. It's going to be intense. This is unmistakable destiny activation. You will feel compelled to act, even push you into a new path with undeniable force. But if you are somewhere in between either 4 and 7 degrees or 11 and 14 degrees of those activated signs that I mentioned before, the intensity level is going to be more moderate. So it will be clearly felt destiny pull, but in a more moderate sense. You recognize the call to act, even if it feels uncomfortable. Also, if you have natal planets that are being activated, that also matters. So if Mars conjuncts North-North at 8 degrees 55 Pisces, if this conjunction aspects a natal planet in your chart, the nature of the destiny activation depends on which planet. So if this conjunction aspects your natal sun, then your identity is called to a courageous new spiritual or creative direction. Who you are, it's evolving towards greater faith and compassion. If it activates your natal moon, emotional destiny activation. This is deep intuitive knowing about your path surfaces. Trust the feelings that arise during these days. They are guiding you. If it's activating your natal Mercury, your mind receives destiny downloads, inspired ideas, spiritual insights, or creative visions arrive demanding action. If it's your natal Venus, destiny calls through relationships, art, or beauty. A fated romantic connection or creative calling activates with urgency. If it's your natal Mars, Mars returned to its natal position combined with the North Node. This is a rare and powerful action. Destiny alignment. Your courage peaks during this time. If it's your natal Jupiter, faith expands dramatically. Beliefs evolve to embrace a more spiritual or compassionate worldview. Teaching and publishing are favored. If it's your natal Saturn, destiny demands disciplined spiritual commitment. You build lasting structures around faith, creativity, or healing work. If it's your natal Uranus, sudden awakening to your true path. Lightning bolt clarity about where your soul needs to go next. If it's your natal Neptune, the deepest possible spiritual activation, mystical experiences, artistic breakthroughs, or profound compassion emerges as your destiny direction. If it's your natal Pluto, then transformative destiny activation happens during this time. Power dynamics shift permanently in service of your soul's growth. Deep psychological healing occurs through courageous action. And if it's your ascendant or midheaven, then visible life changes in your identity or career direction. Others can see your destiny path activating in real time. So let's see what all this means for each of the 12 signs. Aries. On March 8th, 2026, Venus will conjunct Saturn at 3 degrees in your sign, in your first house of identity and self. So you are the most affected signs. This conjunction lands directly on your rising sign, moon sign, or sun sign, forcing you to get real about how you present yourself in relationships and what you truly value. The dream you had about a new look, a new persona, or a fresh start in love now requires concrete commitment. No more fantasizing without follow through. Show up as the disciplined, authentic version of yourself and watch how the right people respond. On March 11th, Jupiter stations direct in your fourth house of family and home. This is a square to you, Aries, to your sun, moon, ascendant, or a sign or moon sign. This is friction, but friction forces growth. The square is a high tension, high reward aspect. Jupiter's expansive energy pushes you against your Aries nature, creating pressure that demands action and adaptation. This isn't comfortable, but it's profoundly productive. So if you have natal planets at 10 to 20 degrees of Aries, including sun, moon, or ascendant, Jupiter station directly activates them as it stands still at 15 degrees, concentrating its expansive energy on that point in your chart. So within 0 to 2 degrees of 15 degrees, or roughly in between 13 and 17 degrees Aries, the activation is intense and unmissable. So expect major turning points. And if for those of you that are within a warp of 2 to 5 degrees, so if you are an Aries, sun, moon, or rising, or have any other planets in Aries in between 10 to 13 degrees or 17 to 20 degrees Aries, the effects are moderate but still clearly felt. So what are we talking? What are these blessings that are going to be manifesting now? Home improvements, family reconciliation, real estate progress, and emotional security breakthroughs. But they come through challenge. The home renovations, the family conversations, or living situation changes you've been contemplating since November finally move forward, though they may require you to push past resistance or compromise on your timeline. A parent relationship heals, but it asks you to show up with vulnerability rather than your usual independence. The square energy means Jupiter doesn't hand you gifts here. It forces you to grow into them. You may feel pulled between career ambitions and family needs, between your desire to charge ahead and the need to slow down and nurture. The growth happens when you stop treating home and ambition as opposites. The tension between your first house drive and fourth house foundations is actually building something structurally sound. A light that supports both your fire and your need for roots. As a cardinal sign receiving a square from Jupiter's station, you are among the most activated signs during this transit. Cardinal squares create turning points, so expect pivotal decisions around home, family, and emotional foundations that reshape your trajectory. The pressure you feel is Jupiter demanding that you expand beyond your comfort zone. Don't resist it. And then on March 13th, Mars will conjunct the North Node in your 12th house of spirituality, subconscious, hidden matters, endings, solitude. So because this conjunction doesn't really form a major aspect to your sign, this will be a subtle but persistent nudge towards spiritual action behind the scenes. This is not a loud or public activation for Aries, but it is deeply significant because Mars is your ruling planet. So your planetary ruler is meeting destiny in your most hidden house. And if you have planets, natal planets in between 4 to 14 degrees of Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, Cancer, Scorpio, Taurus, or Capricorn, this destiny activation directly triggers them. So your soul, what is your destiny action here? Your soul is being called to take courageous action in the realm of the invisible. Your subconscious patterns, your spiritual life, your relationship with solitude and surrender. As an Aries rising, you are wired for direct, visible action. So this transit asks you to find courage in the opposite direction, in stillness, in prayer, in letting go of control, in trusting what you cannot see. The bravest thing you can do right now is stop fighting and start surrendering. How can you see this in your life? You may feel a powerful pull toward meditation, retreat, or spiritual practice. A hidden matter may surface that requires you to act with compassion rather than aggression. You might volunteer behind the scenes, or start therapy or a healing modality, confront an addiction or self-sabotaging pattern, or take courageous action to close a chapter of your life that has been lingering in the shadows. Dreams may be vivid and prophetic, so pay attention to them. For Taurus, the Venus conjunction with Saturn happens in the 12th house of spirituality and subconscious. So, a hidden relationship dynamic or buried financial pattern is being brought to the surface for serious examination now. You may feel a pull to retreat and process old wounds around love and self-worth. Honor that need because the healing available right now is profound. journaling, therapy, or a quiet, honest conversation with yourself about what you've been avoiding in love will yield breakthroughs. So the conjunction happens on March 8th. Now, moving on to March 10th, 11th. This is when Jupiter stations direct. This happens for you. Taurus is going to be in your third house of communication and learning. And Jupiter at 15 degrees creates a sextile to your sign, especially if you are anywhere in between 10 to 20 degrees of Taurus. This is opportunity that flows through effort. The sextile is a harmonious aspect that opens doors, but you need to walk through them. Jupiter's nurturing Cancer energy reaches your Taurus nature with easy and compatibility. Both signs value security, comfort, and building something lasting. So if you have not just your sun, moon, or ascendant, but any planets in between 10 to 20 degrees of Taurus, Jupiter stations directly activates them as it stands still at 15 degrees, concentrating its expansive energy on that point in your chart. So, especially for those of you, so only for 0 to 2 degree orb, so those of you in between roughly 13 to 17 degrees Taurus, the activation is clear. Opportunities present themselves with minimal effort. Those of you in between 10 to 13 degrees or 17 to 20 degrees Taurus with planets in those degrees of Taurus or Taurus rising sun or moon, the effects are moderate and require you to stay alert for openings. So what are these blessings that are going to be manifesting starting March 10th, 11th? Well, communication breakthroughs, learning opportunities, sibling relationships improving, and local connections expanding in tangible, rewarding ways. The course you've been considering, the book you've been wanting to write, or the conversation you've been rehearsing. The green light is here, and it comes with a natural ease that suits your steady approach. Words flow with warmth and emotional depth rather than just practical clarity. Learning accelerates because you're absorbing information through feeling as much as intellect. Neighbors and siblings become sources of genuine joy and possibly financial or practical support. Short trips taken now could open unexpected doors. Your voice carries more weight. People listen when you speak because your words carry both Taurus substance and Cancer emotional resonance. This is an excellent time to start a blog, a podcast, a course, or any communication-based project. The sextile rewards initiative. So reach out, sign up, say yes. And then finally on March 13, Mars is going to conjunct the North Node in your 11th house of friends, community, and future vision. So this this conjunction forms a sextile to your sign, moon, sun, or rising sign. This is an opportunity aspect that opens doors through community and social action, but requires you to step forward and claim it. So if you also have any other natal planets in between 4 to 14 degrees of Taurus, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, Cancer, Scorpio, or Capricorn, this destiny activation directly triggers them. Your soul is being called to take action within your community, your friend group, or collective vision for the future. The Pisces energy in your 11th house means this isn't about networking for personal gain. It's about connecting with people who share your spiritual values, your creative vision, or compassionate mission. The courage required is to align your social life with your soul's purpose, even if it means outgrowing old friend groups or joining communities that feel unfamiliar but deeply right. So, how can you see this manifesting in your life? A friend may appear who feels fated or destined, someone who activates your spiritual growth. You might join a creative collective or spiritual community or charity organization or a humanitarian cause that aligns with your evolving values. A long held dream or wish connecting to helping others, creating art, or living more intuitively suddenly finds traction. Group activities involving music, art, healing, or spiritual practice are especially favored. Gemini. On March 8, 2026, Venus will conjunct Saturn on your 11th house of friends, community, and goals. A friendship or group affiliation is being tested for authenticity this day. Are these connections built on real mutual respect or just convenience? You may need to commit to a community project or conversely step back from a social circle that no longer aligns with your values. Long-term goals around income from your network or collaborative ventures required a disciplined, realistic plan now. And then on March 10th, 11th, Jupiter will station direct in your second house of money and values. Jupiter at 15 degrees will form a minor aspect. It's called a semi-sextile to your sign. It's subtle, but it's present influence. So while it is not a major aspect, Jupiter in the sign right next to yours means its energy is close and personal, coloring your experience through your second house of finances and self-worth. So if you have any natal planets in between 10 to 20 degrees of Gemini, Jupiter station creates a gentle background activation here. This aspect asks for minor adjustments rather than dramatic shifts, so think of it as a quiet nudge rather than a loud push. The effects are subtle but cumulative. So what blessings can you see manifesting starting March 10th? Financial growth, income expansion, self-worth, it's increasing, and values are clarifying with a gentle, organic quality. The raise, new income stream, or financial plan that you've been developing internally starts producing tangible results. Your sense of self-worth catches up with your actual value, and this inner alignment quietly attracts more abundance. Money flows more easily when you stop second-guessing your worth. Jupiter in your second house wants to expand what you have and what you value. So look for ways to increase your income that align with your emotional needs, not just intellectual interests. This is a time when valuing yourself properly, including emotionally, directly correlates with financial improvement. A side income connected to communication, writing, or teaching could blossom starting these days. Trust that your versatile skill set has more market value than you've been charging for. And then on March 13th, Mars will conjunct the North Node in your 10th house. This is career, public life, and reputation, and you are strongly activated because this conjunction forms a square to your Gemini sign. This is a high friction, high reward destiny activation in your career and public life. The square creates tension between your analytical, information-driven approach and the universe's demand that you lead with intuition, faith, and creative vision. You cannot think your way through this. You must feel and trust your way forward. The discomfort is the growth. Gemini risings with their ascendant, or sun or moon, at 4 to 14 degrees will feel this most intensely. So if you have any other planets at between 4 to 14 degrees of Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, or Virgo, this destiny activation creates maximum friction and a catalytic career transformation. Your soul is being called to take bold, courageous action in your career and public life, but the action required is Piscean in nature. This means leading with compassion, bringing creativity and spiritual depth to your professional role, or pivoting toward work that serves a higher purpose. The square forces you to confront the gap between what your mind thinks and what should you be doing professionally, and what your soul actually needs to be doing. So expect friction, but trust it. It's breaking you out of a career pattern that was too small for your evolving destiny. So what are the manifestations that you can see during this time in your life? Well, a career crossroads that arrives, that demands a leap of faith rather than a calculated decision. You may be pushed to incorporate creativity, spirituality, healing, or artistic expression into your professional identity. Conflicts with authority figures may catalyze a necessary departure or power shift. You could receive public recognition for compassionate or creative work, could be offered a role in the arts, healing profession, or nonprofit sector, or feel an undeniable call to change your career legacy towards something more meaningful and soul aligned. Cancer. On March 8, 2026, Venus will conjunct Saturn in your 10th house of career and public life. So your professional image and how you are valued in the public sphere are under scrutiny now. This is a moment to commit to a career path that genuinely fulfills you, not just one that looks good. A relationship with a boss, mentor, or authority figure may require honest boundaries. If you've been dreaming about a career change or a raise, Saturn demands you build a case with real credentials and proven results. And then, on March 10th, Jupiter stations finally direct in your first house of self and identity. You are the most blessed sign due to this aspect. Jupiter at 15 degrees Cancer conjoins your sign. This is the most powerful, most blessed activation possible. A conjunction means Jupiter's full expansive force merges with your sign's energy. You are the epicenter of this blessing. Jupiter hasn't been in Cancer since 2013, 2014, and it won't return until 2037. This station direct is your sign. In your sign is a once in a decade or 12 years event. So if you have natal planets in between 10 to 20 degrees of Cancer, Jupiter stationed directly here activates them as it stands still at 15 degrees, concentrated its expansive energy on that point in your chart. So if you are in between 13 and 17 degrees Cancer, the activation is intense. This is a life-defining transit that can bring major breakthroughs in identity, confidence, visibility, and personal expansion. If you are in between 10 to 13 degrees or 17 to 20 degrees Cancer, the effects are powerful and impossible to ignore. If your sun, moon, or ascendant falls in this range, 2026 is a landmark year for you. So what are the blessings that will start manifesting from this date? Personal expansion on every level, new opportunities, physical vitality, confidence surge, visibility increase, and a deep sense of coming home to yourself. Jupiter direct in your sign is a cosmic green light for personal growth of the highest order. You feel bigger, bolder, more optimistic, and more authentically yourself than you have in years. Doors open, sometimes doors you didn't even know existed. People are drawn to your warmth, your generosity, and renewed confidence. Your natural nurturing gifts are recognized and rewarded. This is your year to expand, and March is when the expansion goes unmistakably external. The 4 months of retrograde since November have been an internal gestation period. You've been growing emotionally, spiritually, and in self-understanding. Now that growth becomes visible. New beginnings in personal identity, physical appearance, life direction, and how you present yourself to the world all receive Jupiter's blessing. So say yes to opportunities that feel aligned with your heart. Take up space. Be seen. The universe is literally expanding around you. Cancer. You are the sign most profoundly impacted by Jupiter's direct station. The conjunction is the most potent aspect in astrology. Jupiter's gifts of abundance, optimism, protection, and expansion are being poured directly into your identity and life path. This is your cosmic green light. Every major planet stationed in direct in your sign, it's a pivotal moment. Treat it as such. Set intentions, launch projects, step into your biggest vision of yourself. Jupiter is your benefactor right now, and it's standing still at 15 degrees Cancer, concentrating all its expansive power in 1 degree of your sign. Receive it fully. And finally, on March 13th, we have the Mars conjunction with the North Node in your 9th house of higher learning, travel, beliefs. This is a water trine. Beautiful. So Mars at 8 degrees Pisces forms a trine to Cancer. The most flowing, supportive destiny activation possible. As a fellow water sign, Pisces energy naturally harmonizes with your emotional, intuitive nature. Destiny arrives not through struggle, but through grace. Cancer risings with their ascendant at 4 to 14 degrees feel this beautiful alignment most powerfully. And if you have any other natal planets at 4 to 14 degrees of Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, this destiny activation flows through your chart with supportive, nurturing energy. Your soul is being called to expand through faith, higher learning, travel, or a deepening of your spiritual beliefs. The water trine means this expansion feels emotionally safe and intuitively right. You don't have to force it, you just have to trust it. Your natural empathy and emotional intelligence are exactly the qualities needed for this ninth house destiny activation. The courage required is to let your beliefs grow beyond what feels familiar, to trust that your intuition can guide you into philosophically and spiritually uncharted territory. How can you see this in your life manifesting? You can have a powerful urge to travel, especially to places near water or with deep spiritual significance. You may enroll in a course, a program, or spiritual teaching that feels destined. A publishing or teaching opportunity arrives that asks you to share your emotional wisdom with a broader audience. Your faith or philosophical outlook undergoes a beautiful, expansive shift from head-based belief to heart-based knowing. Encounters with foreign cultures or spiritual traditions feel like coming home. A mentor or teacher may appear who deeply understands your emotional nature and guides your spiritual development. Leo, on March 8th, 2026, Venus will conjunct Saturn in your ninth house of higher learning and travel. So, a belief system, educational pursuit, or long distance connection is being tested for substance. Does your philosophy of love and money actually hold up under pressure? You may commit to a course of study, a publishing project, or a cross-cultural relationship that requires real dedication. Travel plans need practical budgeting, and spiritual teaching needs to be grounded in lived experience. And then on March 10th, 11th, Jupiter will station direct in your 12th house of spirituality and subconscious. This Jupiter here does not form a major aspect to your sign. This is a subtle behind the scenes influence. Jupiter is in the sign just before yours, in the 12th sign here, activating your 12th house of the subconscious, spirituality, and hidden matters. The energy works quietly but meaningfully. So if you have a natal planet in between 10 to 20 degrees of Leo, Jupiter station creates a gentle background activation. The semi-sextile asks for minor inner adjustments, small spiritual shifts that prepare you for larger things ahead. When Jupiter enters Leo in your first house in later this year, you will look back at this period as essential groundwork. What are the blessings that you can see manifesting starting March 10th? Spiritual breakthroughs, healing completion, creative inspiration from dreams, closure on past wounds, and a profound sense of inner peace arriving after a long journey. The inner work you've been doing produces gifts that are deeply spiritual in nature. A retreat, therapy milestone, or meditation practice reaches breakthrough. Forgiveness of self or others brings unexpected freedom and lightness. Jupiter in your 12th house is sometimes called the guardian angel placement because Blessings come from unseen sources. Synchronicities increase, intuition sharpens, and you may feel protected by forces you can't quite explain. Creative inspiration flows from your subconscious. Dreams, meditation, and quiet contemplation become gold mines for artistic and personal insight. This is also a powerful time for releasing old patterns, addictions, or self-sabotaging behavior. Jupiter direct gives you the optimism and faith needed to finally let go of what no longer serves you. Trust the process even when the blessings aren't immediately visible. They're working behind the scenes. And then on March 13th, 2026, Mars will conjunct the North Node in your 8th house of shared resources and transformation and intimacy. The aspect to your sign is not a major aspect, but it's an awkward adjustment requiring aspect that creates subtle but persistent tension. This destiny activation asks you to adjust your ego and self-expression to accommodate deeper, hidden, transformative forces. So if you have natal planets in between 4 to 14 degrees of Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, Cancer, Scorpio, Taurus, or Capricorn, this destiny activation directly triggers them. Your soul is being called into the deep waters of transformation, intimacy, and shared resources. As a Leo rising, accustomed to the spotlight, this 8th house activation asks you to find courage and vulnerability in merging with another, in surrendering control over finances or power dynamics. The Pisces energy here dissolves the ego boundaries that prevent true intimacy. The bravest thing you can do is let someone else see your unguarded, unperforming self, and trust that you are enough without the armor of confidence. How can you see this manifesting in your life? A financial matter involving shared resources, inheritance, debt, taxes, or investments demands courageous action guided by intuition rather than pride. An intimate relationship deepens into territory that requires vulnerability and spiritual trust. Psychological breakthrough occurs through therapy, shadow work, or transformative spiritual experience. You may encounter a situation where you must surrender financial control or power to someone else, and discover that receiving is as courageous as giving. Sexual or creative energy intensifies with a mystical, transcendent quality. Virgo. Venus on March 8, 2026. Venus will conjunct Saturn in your 8th house of shared resources and transformation. So your joint finances, debts, inheritances, or intimate vulnerability are demanding mature handling. No more glossing over the hard conversations about money that you share with others. Or a sexual or deeply emotional bond may require renewed commitment or a frank discussion about boundaries. This is powerful energy for restructuring debt, setting up a joint investment plan, or finally addressing a power imbalance in an intimate relationship. And then on March 10th, 11th, Jupiter starts its station direct in your 11th house of friendships, community, and goals. Jupiter At 15 degrees, Cancer, it's forming a sextile to your sign. This is opportunity that flows through effort. The sextile, it's a cooperative, supportive aspect that rewards initiative. Jupiter's emotionally expansive Cancer energy harmonizes beautifully with your practical Virgo nature, creating opportunities where emotional intelligence meets analytical skill. So if you have natal planets in between 10 to 20 degrees of Virgo, Jupiter stations directly activates them as it stands still at this 15 degree, concentrating its expansive energy on that point in your chart. So if you are within, say, roughly 13 to 17 degrees of Virgo, the activation is clear and productive. Doors open for those who knock. If you are a Virgo in between 10 to 13 degrees or 17 to 20 degrees, the effects are moderate, presenting quiet but real opportunities that reward your attention to detail. So what are the blessings that you can see manifesting in your life starting March 10th? Well, you can now be expanding social circles, community recognition, goals materializing, and friend groups growing in ways that feel both meaningful and practical. The community you've been quietly building internally now flourishes externally. A friend group, professional network, or social cause gains real momentum as Jupiter goes direct. Your future vision becomes a shared vision. People rally around your ideas because you present them with both emotional heart, Cancer, and practical clarity, Virgo. Group projects that stalled during the Jupiter retrograde now move forward with renewed energy. You may be invited to join organizations, boards, or collaborative ventures that align with your humanitarian ideals. Technology-related goals or online community building could see particular expansion during this time. The sextile rewards effort, so don't wait for invitations. Reach out, propose collaborations, attend events, and put yourself in a room where your skills are needed. The right communities are looking for exactly what you offer. And finally, on March 13th, 2026, Mars will conjunct the North Node in your 7th house of partnership and relationships. This is a strongly activation for you. Mars North Node at 8 degrees Pisces form a direct opposition to your Virgo sign. This is one of the most powerful activations in the zodiac for this transit. The opposition creates intense tension between your identity, your first house Virgo, analytical, precise, self-sufficient, and the destiny call in your 7th house of partnerships. Pisces, surrender, merge, trust. You are being pulled toward your destiny through another person. Virgo risings with their ascendant at 4 to 14 degrees feel this opposition as a direct, unavoidable force reshaping their relationship life. So, if you have any other natal planets in between 4 to 14 degrees of Virgo, this destiny activation creates maximum tension across the relationship axis, demanding transformation in how you partner with others. Now, this opposition means this destiny arrives through other people, a partner, or a collaborator, or even an adversary. The challenge for Virgo is that Pisces is the seventh house, in the seventh house, asks you to stop analyzing your relationship and start surrendering to them. Stop trying to fix your partner and start trusting the imperfect, messy, beautiful reality of human connection. Your destiny requires you to let go of the illusion of the perfect partnership and embrace the transcendent spiritual bond that exists in imperfection. How can you see this manifesting in your life? Well, a relationship reaches a destined turning point. A proposal, a commitment, a confrontation that changes everything. A new partnership may enter your life that feels fated and deeply spiritual. Business partnerships may shift as you attract collaborators who share your compassionate vision. You may need to fight for a relationship, Mars, while simultaneously surrendering your need to control it, Pisces. Contracts and legal matters involving partnership require bold action guided by intuition. The person across from you, in love or conflict, is your mirror and your teacher right now. Libra, March 8, 2026, Venus will conjunct Saturn in Aries in your seventh house of partnership and marriage. Your ruling planet Venus meets Saturn in your house of marriage and serious partnerships. This is one of the most significant relationship moments of the year for you. Existing partnerships face a commitment checkpoint. Are you both showing up with honesty and discipline, or has the relationship become a beautiful illusion? New relationships that begin now have staying power if both people are willing to do the real work. And then on March 10th, Jupiter stations direct in your 10th house of career, public life. Jupiter at 15 degrees Cancer is going to be squaring your Libra ascendant, Sun or Moon. This is friction that forces growth. The square creates dynamic tension between Jupiter's domestic nurturing Cancer energy and your partnership-oriented, harmony-seeking Libra nature. This is a push-pull between private emotional needs and public relational responsibilities. So if you have natal planets in between 10 to 20 degrees of Libra, Jupiter station directly activates them as it stands still at 15 degrees, concentrated its expansive energy on that point in your chart. So if you are a Libra in between 13 and 17 degrees, the activation is intense. Expect pivotal career moments that demand you navigate competing priorities. If you're a Libra in between 10 to 13 degrees or 17 to 20 degrees, the effects are moderate but clearly felt as productive tension. Jupiter will move direct from this point, so it will reach all the degrees up to 30 degrees in the coming months. So let's see, what are the blessings that are going to start manifesting in your life from this point? Career advancement, public recognition, professional opportunities, and reputation growth. But they arrive through challenge and require you to make bold choices. The career seeds planted since November begin to sprout visibly through the growth, though the growth may push you out of your comfort zone. A promotion, a new role, or public acknowledgement arrives, but it might require sacrificing some work-life balance temporarily or asserting yourself in ways that feel uncomfortable for harmony-loving Libra. Your professional reputation expands through authenticity, not just diplomacy. The square from Jupiter asks, can you be nurturing and ambitious? Can you honor your emotional foundations and climb higher professionally? The answer is yes, but not without some creative restructuring. Career opportunities that align with your values, especially those involving care, family, real estate, hospitality, or emotional support, are particularly favored. Don't shy away from tension. It's building muscles that you will rely on for years. As a cardinal sign receiving a square from Jupiter's station, you are among the most activated signs during this transit. Cardinal squares create turning points, so expect pivotal decisions around career, public standing, and how you balance professional ambitions with emotional and family needs. The square demands growth, not comfort. Trust that the friction is sculpting you into a more powerful, more integrated version of yourself. The discomfort is temporary. The expansion is lasting. And then finally, on March 13, Mars will conjunct the North Node in your 6th house of work, health, daily routines, service, pets. So Mars North Node at 8 degrees Pisces, almost 9 degrees, forms a minor aspect to Libra. It's an adjustment aspect that creates subtle but nudging tension between your desire for balance and harmony and the need for courageous, sometimes messy action in your daily life. So if you have natal planets at 4 to 14 degrees of Pisces, this destiny activation directly triggers them. Your destiny, your soul is being called to take action in your daily routines, work habits, and health practices that aligns with a higher spiritual purpose. The Pisces energy in your 6th house transforms mundane daily life into sacred ritual. Your destiny isn't in dramatic career moves right now, it's in how you show up for the small things each day. The courage required is to bring compassion, creativity, and spiritual awareness into your work, your health practices, and your service to others, even when it disrupts the comfortable balance that you've created. How can you see this manifesting in your life? A work situation demands that you take compassionate but firm action, standing up for a colleague, addressing a toxic dynamic, or redirecting your professional service toward healing or creative work. Health breakthroughs come through holistic, spiritual, or intuitive approaches, meditation, energy healing, water-based therapies, or surrendering the need for perfect health routines in favor of intuitive body wisdom. A pet may arrive in your life that opens your heart, You could be drawn to volunteer work, artistic service projects, or bringing more beauty and soul into your daily workspace. Scorpios, on March 8, 2026, Venus will conjunct Saturn in your 6th house of work and health routines. So your daily habits around wellness, work relationships, and service are being restructured with the demand for both beauty and discipline. A co-worker relationship needs honest boundaries, or a health routine needs commitment beyond the initial inspiration phase. This is excellent energy for starting a structured wellness plan, committing to a workplace project, or finally addressing that nagging health issue you've been spiritualizing instead of treating. And then on March 10th, 11th, Jupiter stations direct in your 9th house of higher learning and travel. Jupiter at 15 degrees Cancer trines your sign, flowing blessings with natural ease. The trine is the most harmonious major aspect, and in the water element, Cancer to Scorpio, it creates a deep intuitive flow of emotional abundance. Jupiter's nurturing energy resonates profoundly with your emotional depth. So if you have natal planets at 10 to 20 degrees of Scorpio, Jupiter station direct activates them as it stands still at 15 degrees, concentrating its expansive energy on that point in your chart. If you have your Sun, Moon or Ascendant, or any planets in between 13 to 17 degrees Scorpio, the activation is powerful and deeply felt. Blessings arrive with an almost fated quality. If you are in between 10 to 13 degrees or 17 to 20 degrees Scorpio, or have any other planets in Scorpio at these degrees, the effects are clear and supportive, bringing ease to areas that have felt stagnant. What blessings can you see manifesting? Educational opportunities, travel plans materializing, publishing success, legal victories, expanded worldview, and spiritual or philosophical breakthroughs that feel profoundly right. The educational path, travel paths, philosophical framework you've been developing internally now takes concrete form with a sense of flow and ease. You enroll, book the trip, submit the manuscript, or begin teaching, and it feels natural, almost inevitable. The water trine means your emotional intelligence is your greatest teacher and greatest asset right now. Travel to places near water or with deep cultural significance is especially favored. Higher education, whether formal degrees or self-directed deep dives, flows with unusual grace. If you've been working on a book, a course, or a body of knowledge, Jupiter Direct says it's time to share it with the world. Legal matters resolve favorably. Your understanding of life's deeper patterns expands in ways that feel like remembering rather than learning. Trust your intuitive knowing. It's operating at peak capacity under this trine. Scorpio, you receive one of the most graceful activations from Jupiter's direct station. It's a water trine blessing. This water trine between Cancer and Scorpio creates an intuitive, emotional, almost physic flow of abundance. Blessings come through your willingness to go deep, to trust your instincts, and to follow your emotional truth. This is not surface level luck. It's your soul level expansion. The 9th house activation suggests Your greatest growth comes through broadening your horizons while staying rooted in emotional authenticity. Sagittarius. On March 8th, 2026, Venus will conjunct Saturn in your fifth house of creativity, romance, children. So your creative expression and romantic life are being asked to grow up without losing their magic. Can you be both widely inspired and consistently disciplined in your art or love life? A romantic connection may deepen into something more serious, or a creative project needs a structured plan to become real. If children are part of your world, a conversation about boundaries, responsibilities, or commitments around them is likely. And then on March 10th, Jupiter stations direct in your 8th house, shared resources and transformation. Jupiter at 15 degrees Cancer forms a minor aspect to your sign. It's an aspect of adjustment and recalibration. As a Jupiter's home sign, Sagittarius always has a special relationship with Jupiter, even when the geometric aspect is a bit awkward. The Conjunct asks you to integrate two very different energies. Now, if you have planets in between 10 to 20 degrees of Sagittarius, Jupiter station creates an activation that feels like an itch you can quite scratch. Something needs adjusting, but the solution isn't obvious. The Conjunct requires creative problem solving and willingness to adapt approaches that have worked in the past. So, what blessings can you see manifesting in your life starting March 10th? Shared financial improvements, inheritance matters, insurance settlements, deep emotional healing, and transformative breakthroughs around trust and intimacy. Resources from others flow more freely as Jupiter goes direct, but you may need to adjust your expectations about how abundance arrives. A financial partnership or shared investment produces returns, possibly in a form you didn't anticipate. Therapy or transformational work yields tangible emotional breakthroughs that change how you relate to power, vulnerability, and shared resources. As Jupiter's ruling sign, you feel this station deeply, even with a major aspect. Without. Your ruling planet is waking up, and that means your energy is waking up too. The retrograde period may have demanded your natural optimism, expected to return with force. Even though the aspect is minor, Jupiter's direct motion reactivates your innate faith, wanderlust, and philosophical enthusiasm. So pay attention to joint finances, taxes, debts, and investments. There's expansion available here that requires you to adjust your approach to shared resources. And finally, March 13, Mars will conjunct the North Node in your fourth house of family, roots, emotional foundations, real estate, ancestry. You're a mutable sign. You are strongly activated. Mars North Node at 8 degrees Pisces forms a square to Sagittarius. This is a high friction destiny activation that shakes your foundations, literally and emotionally. The square creates tension between your adventurous philosophical nature and the call to anchor yourself in emotional and spiritual roots. You want to explore the world, but destiny is pulling you inward, toward home, family, and the deep emotional foundations that support everything else. Sagittarius rising with their ascendant at 4 to 14 degrees feel this domestic destiny shake up most intensely. If you have any other natal planets in between 4 to 14 degrees of Sagittarius, this destiny activation creates maximum friction around home and family themes, catalyzing necessary transformation in your foundations. Your soul is being called to take courageous action around home, family, and emotional foundations. The square means this won't be comfortable. You may need to confront family dynamics, make bold moves around your living situation, or face deep emotional patterns inherited from your lineage. The Pisces energy asks you to approach family with compassion rather than restless avoidance. To find the sacred in your roots rather than always seeking meaning in distant horizons. Your destiny right now is to build an emotional home within yourself and in the physical world. This is spiritually grounded and emotionally honest. How can you see this manifesting in your life? A housing or real estate situation demands urgent, faith-driven action, a move, a renovation, or a bold decision about where you plant your roots. Family conflicts surface that can no longer be outrun or philosophized away. They require direct, compassionate engagement. You may feel called to create a spiritual sanctuary in your home, to honor your ancestors, or to heal generational patterns through courageous emotional honesty. A parent or family member may need your help in a way that tests your freedom-loving nature, but ultimately deepens your soul. The friction between wanting to roam and needing to root is the growth point. Capricorns, on March 8th, 2026, Venus will conjunct Saturn in your 4th house of home and family. Your ruling planet Saturn brings Venus to your domestic sphere, making this deeply personal. Family relationships, living situations, or property matters require both love and discipline. You may commit to a home purchase, renovation, or a new living arrangement that blends beauty with practicality. An honest conversation with a family member about emotional needs and boundaries could permanently restructure a foundational relationship. And then March 10th, Jupiter stations direct in your 7th house of partnerships. Jupiter at 15 degrees Cancer opposes your sign. This is tension, confrontation, and growth through the mirror of partnership and opposition. The opposition is a full illumination aspect. It shows you what you cannot see about yourself, but reflecting it through others. Jupiter's nurturing, emotionally expansive Cancer energy stands directly across to your sign. So across from your disciplined, ambitious Capricorn nature. So if you have natal planets in between 10 to 20 degrees Capricorn, Jupiter's station directly activates them as it stands still at 15 degrees, concentrating its expansive energy on that point in your chart. If you're roughly between 13 and 17 degrees Capricorn or have planets, the activation is intense. Partnerships, open enemies, and one-on-one relationships become the theater for major growth and expansion. If you have planets in between 10 to 13 degrees of Capricorn or 17 to 20 degrees Capricorn, the effects are powerful, creating clear tension that demands resolution and balance. How can you see these blessings manifesting in your life? Partnership growth, relationship milestones, business partnership expanding, and profound lessons about balance between self and other. The relationship review you've been conducting since November yields clarity and growth now. But the opposition means the clarity often comes through another person challenging you to expand. Committed partnerships deepen with renewed optimism, though this may first require honest conversation or confrontation about emotional needs that have been suppressed. New partnerships form with expansive potential, particularly with people who embody Cancer qualities. Nurturing, emotionally intelligent, family-oriented people who complement your structured approach. A business collaboration moves forward with momentum. The opposition asks you the fundamental question: can you be strong and soft? Can you maintain your ambition while also being emotionally present and vulnerable? Partners, both romantic and professional, become mirrors showing you your own untapped capacity for emotional connection. Jupiter, opposite your sign, doesn't withhold blessings. It delivers them through other people. The abundance comes through your relationships, not despite them. Capricorns, you are one of the most impacted signs by Jupiter's direct station. The opposition is the aspect of awareness. Like a full moon illuminating what was hidden, Jupiter across from your sign magnifies partnerships, forces growth through relationships, and asks you to balance your natural self-sufficiency with genuine interdependence. This can feel confrontational. Others may seem to have all the luck while you work hard. The truth is, Jupiter is trying to teach you that receiving is as important as achieving. Your greatest expansion in March comes through letting others in, accepting support, and recognizing that vulnerability is not weakness, it's the doorway to the abundance Jupiter is offering you. And finally, on March 13th, Mars will conjunct the North Node in your third house of communication, learning, siblings, short travel, writing. So Mars North Node, 8 degrees 55 minutes Pisces, forms a sextile to your Capricorn sign, an opportunity aspect that rewards disciplined, structured action towards spiritual and creative communication. The sextile requires initiative, but it meets your effort with open doors and supportive circumstances. So if you have natal planets in between 4 to 14 degrees of Capricorn, this destiny activation directly triggers them. Your soul is being called to communicate with greater spiritual depth, creative vision, and compassionate honesty. The third house is where you process and share information. And with the North Node here in Pisces, your destiny involves learning to speak, write, and think from a place of intuition rather than purpose and logic. This doesn't mean abandoning your Capricorn discipline. It means applying that discipline to spiritual learning, creative writing, or compassionate communication. The courage requires you to say what your soul knows, even when your practical mind argues it's not productive or realistic. So how can you see this manifesting in your life? An opportunity to write, speak, or teach about spiritual, creative, or healing topics arrives and rewards your structured follow-through. Siblings relationship may deepen through honest, compassionate communication. A short trip or local encounter catalyzes a spiritual insight. You might start a blog, a podcast, a course, a book that blends your practical expertise with spiritual or creative vision. Learning opportunities in the arts, meditation, or intuitive development feel destined. Conversations with neighbors or people in your local environment carry unexpected depth and meaning. Aquarius. For you, on March 8, 2026, Venus will conjunct Saturn in your third house of communication and learning. So how you communicate in relationships and negotiate financial matters is being tested for both inspiration and integrity. A sibling or neighbor relationship may need honest restructuring, or a writing-speaking project requires committed follow-through. This is powerful energy for signing contracts, committing to a course, or having that difficult but necessary conversation you've been dreaming about but avoiding. On March 10th, when Jupiter turns direct in your 6th house, it will form a minor aspect to your sign. It's an aspect of adjustment that asks you to integrate seemingly incompatible energies. Cancer's emotional, family-focused warmth and Aquarius' detached, community-oriented idealism don't naturally blend, creating a productive awkwardness that drives creative adaptation. So if you have natal planets in between 10 to 20 degrees of Aquarius, Jupiter station creates a subtle but persistent activation of feeling that something in your daily life or health routines needs recalibrating. The Conjunct doesn't provide easy answers, but rewards those who are willing to experiment with new approaches. So how can you see this manifesting in your life? Job improvements, health breakthroughs, daily routines becoming more joyful and nurturing, and service opportunities expanding in meaningful ways. The work or health changes you've been contemplated finally move forward as Jupiter stations direct. A better job, improved health routine, or service opportunity materializes now, though it may look different from what you originally envisioned. Daily life becomes more nurturing and less depleting. Jupiter in your 6th house wants you to expand your capacity for service, to improve your physical well-being and bring more meaning to the mundane aspects of your life. Health improvements connected to emotional well-being are especially favored. The mind-body connection is particularly active. Workplace relationships improve as you bring more emotional authenticity to your professional interactions. If you've been considering a career in healing, caregiving, nutrition, or any form of service work, Jupiter direct gives the green light. The key to unlocking this transit's blessings is bringing warmth and emotional presence to your daily routines, approaching the ordinary with extraordinary care. And finally, on March 13th, Mars will conjunct your North Node in your 2nd house of money, body, values, and so forth. So the Mars North Node at 8, almost 9 degrees Pisces forms a minor aspect to your Aquarius sign. It's a subtle background level activation that gently nudges your financial and value system towards spiritual evolution. While not a major aspect, this transit activates the house of money and worth, with destiny level significance. So if you have planets at between 4 to 14 degrees of Pisces, this destiny activation directly triggers them. Your soul is being called to take courageous action around your finances, your values, and your self-worth in a way that aligns with your spiritual rather than purely material principles. The Pisces North Node in your second house suggests your destiny involves learning to value yourself and your resources through a spiritual lens, recognizing that true abundance flows from faith, creativity, and compassion, not just innovation and intellectual superiority. The courage required is to invest in what your soul values, even when the rational mind questions the return. So how can you see this manifesting in your life? A financial opportunity connected to spiritual, creative, or healing work opens up. You may feel called to redirect your income toward more meaningful pursuits or invest in your creative and spiritual development. Self-worth issues surface that can be healed through compassionate action rather than intellectual analysis. You might price your work in a way that reflects your spiritual value, not just market value. Charitable giving or financial generosity flows naturally and returns to you multiplied. Material possessions may be released to make room for what truly matters. And now for Pisces. On March 8, 2026, Venus will conjunct Saturn in your second house of money and values. This is your income, possessions, and deepest values that are being restructured. The dreamy financial ideas from Venus conjunct Neptune 2 days ago now meet Saturn's demand for a real budget and plan. This is a powerful moment to commit to a saving strategy, negotiate your worth in a salary discussion, or stop undercharging for your gifts. Value yourself with both spiritual depth and practical backbone. And then on March 10th, Jupiter will turn direct at 15 degrees Pisces in your 5th house of creativity, romance, and children. So Jupiter at 15 degree Cancer will be trining your sign, flowing blessings arriving with grace and ease. The water trine between Cancer and Pisces creates the most spiritually attuned, emotionally abundant, and intuitively guided flow of any aspect in the zodiac. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer and traditionally rules Pisces, making this trine a double blessing from Jupiter operating at peak power. So if you have natal planets in between 10 to 20 degrees of Pisces, Jupiter stationed directly activates them as it stands still at 15 degrees, concentrating its expansive energy on that point in your chart. If you're a Pisces in between 13 to 17 degrees, the activation is beautiful and deeply felt. Creative and romantic blessings arrive with an utmost magical quality. And if you're a Pisces in between 10 to 13 degrees or 17 to 20 degrees, the effects are clearly supportive, bringing flow and ease to creative and romantic pursuits. What are the blessings that you can see manifesting in your life? Creative breakthroughs, romantic expansion, joy returning in full force, children-related blessings, and a rekindled relationship with pleasure and play. The creative project, romantic connection, or approach to joy you've been incubating since November is ready to be born into the world. Art flows with emotional depth and spiritual resonance. This is not surface level creativity, but work that touches souls. Romance blossoms with a tenderness and depth that feels fated. Existing relationships experience a renewal of emotional and romantic connection, while new relationships that begin now carry a sense of spiritual recognition. If you have children, a parenting breakthrough brings deep satisfaction. Your emotional availability and intuitive understanding of your children reaches new heights. You rediscover pleasure not as escape, but as a sacred art. The water trine means your emotional and spiritual sensitivity is your superpower right now. Create from feeling, love from intuition. Let joy be your compass. Jupiter in fellow water sign Cancer supports everything you do from a place of authentic emotional truth. Pisces. You are one of the most gracefully blessed signs during Jupiter's direct station. The Cancer Pisces trine is pure water magic. Emotional abundance, creative inspiration, and spiritual expansion flowing without resistance. As Jupiter's traditional home sign, you have a special relationship with this planet. When Jupiter thrives, you thrive. And Jupiter in Cancer, its sign of exaltation, station and direct, is Jupiter at its most powerful and generous. Your fifth house of creativity, romance, and joy is being flooded with the best energy the cosmos has to offer. Open your heart, open your creative channels, and let the blessings pour through. This is one of the most beautiful transits you'll experience in years. Receive it fully and joyfully. And finally, on March 13th, Mars will conjunct the North Node in your sign Pisces. This is maximum destiny activation. Mars North Node at 9 degrees Pisces falls in a direct conjunction to your rising sign. This is the single most powerful destiny activation of this transit for any sign. Mars meets the North Node on your identity point, your very sense of self, your physical body, your personal direction in life is being infused with destiny level courage and purpose. Pisces risings with their ascendant at 4 to 14 degrees are experiencing a once-in-a-lifetime Mars-Node conjunction on their ascendant. You are not just witnessing destiny, you are the destiny activation. And if you have any other natal planets in between 4 to 14 degrees Pisces, this destiny activation creates an overwhelming convergence of energy on your identity and personal path. The conjunction to your rising sign, sun sign, moon sign, or any other planet you have is the most personal activation possible. Your soul is being called to step into a completely new version of yourself with unprecedented courage. This is the moment the universe says, no more hiding, no more drifting, no more dissolving into everyone else's needs. It is time to be you with ferocious, compassionate, divinely guided power. Mars gives you fire, drive, and warrior energy. The North Node points that fire towards your highest destiny. In Pisces, this means becoming a spiritual warrior, a compassionate leader, a creative force, an intuitive pioneer. You are being reborn, not in some abstract way, but visibly, physically, unmistakably. Your appearance, your energy, your presence in a room is shifting. How can you see this manifesting in your life? You may feel surges of courage and assertiveness that are unusual for your typical gentle, go with the flow nature. Physical changes or a new personal style that reflects your evolving identity. Bold personal decisions, saying yes to something that terrifies and thrills you. Others notice you differently. You carry a new authority and magnetism. A personal project, a creative vision, or spiritual mission launches with unstoppable momentum. You may literally change your name, appearance, or personal brand to reflect who you are becoming. This is a cosmic coronation. The universe is crowning you as the protagonist of your own story. Accept the crown. And that is week 2 of March 2026 for all 12 rising, moon, or sun signs. What a week. Venus conjunct Saturn tested your relationship for real commitment. Jupiter went direct after 4 months, so whatever has been brewing inside you since November is now ready to come out into the world. And Mars conjunct the North Node, that destiny activation. If you felt a pull this week, or you will feel a pull this week to do something brave, something that doesn't quite make logical sense but feels deeply right, that is it. That is the universe pushing you toward your path. So pay attention to what shows up in your life this week. The themes from these transits don't just pass through, they set the tone for what's coming next. And speaking of what's coming next, week 3 is where March 2026 really hits its peak. We have the new moon at the very last degree of Pisces, the final seed planting of the entire zodiac year. Then the spring equinox and Mercury station direct on the same day, March 20th, which is the biggest cosmic green light we've had all year. And Mars trines Jupiter, giving you the energy and the blessings to actually start building. Week 3 is the week everything turns forward. You don't want to miss it. And as always, if you want to see exactly how this transit is activating your personal chart, which of your natal planets are being triggered, which houses are lit up, head over to ivyastrology.com. The personal cosmic activation calendar, the daily transits on the homepage, all of it is there to help you connect the dots between what I'm covering here and what's happening in your life specifically. Links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video if it helped you, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment. Let me know what showed up for you this week. Did Jupiter going direct bring anything to the surface? Did you feel that Mars North Node destiny pull? I want to hear about it. See you in week 3 video. Take care, everyone.